we've done our labels. We have 16 to pack, not 13. So that's good. More is good. If this feels cramped, that's because it is. Because I wanted to get through as much clothing as I could to see if the clothing store was worth doing. I'm definitely not somebody who makes space then does. If I do that, I tend to not do it and procrastinate making the space. So usually, especially because I don't know if it's going to work or not, and especially when going to a new category, all the more I just want to get to selling. And so for me, with the clothing store, I'll show you guys around in a little bit after I get this item. I've started with tubs going on that shelf, and then quite clearly it's gone well enough that it's started to spread into that area. I've moved from a flat layer over in the living room to against this wall here, because you can see we've got a massive window here. We've got a studio light here, so the photos are turning out quite good. But it also does mean that I'm no longer on the ground. It means that I'm using vertical instead of horizontal space. The kids don't have to keep that area spotless so that I can use the floor anymore. Yeah, but it is very cramped at the moment, which shouldn't be the case for much longer. At the moment, I've got some clothing there to process. I'll show you that too. Essentially, once I get that done, that wall will be empty, and then we'll probably shift this shelf back. And yeah, actually that shelf was only moved purely to install the air conditioning, so I reckon we can probably swivel that shelf back and that'll open up the room a lot more. It's 24. So this is the clothing shop. That used to be the original. I've got books up there. We can probably clear the books and get one shelf back. We've got a monitor under there. That was to keep it safe when they installed the air conditioning. At the moment, this has been great because in summer, this gets really hot and I stand here photographing against that wall. I use one of these hangers and they just go on the wall like that. You can change the position wherever you want. Press the button and it stays. Press the button and it comes off. So for those of you guys who want a temporary solution, this is a good one. I do need to repaint that because that came off when I was trying to remove one of those ones. That's there. That's been in the photos. Hasn't really been noticeable because the clothes are amazing. It's been great to have the aircon kind of blow directly down this passage, so to speak. And then, so that actually gets really warm. This stays really cool. So I've been photographing in summer. And as you can see, I've liked being here because that's how much we processed over the last month. The this shelf can go against the wall, at which point then, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not too high that it will hit the air conditioning, like over there. And yeah, so if this goes against the wall, we can probably, or you can probably get another shelf here. This is not the safest thing. You can see there's a bit of a wobble to it. Yeah, the kids aren't allowed to go to this corner. Also got that pile here. But yeah, it's been quite the process getting into the clothing category. And so far, with sell-through around the 20% mark, I'm happy with how it's going. People say that as your business grows, you can't keep that number high. It just goes lower because you're doing more. We shall see. But for the moment, there's some good stuff. That's the pile that still needs to be processed. Hopefully, that gets done by the end of February. I don't know what else to say. I've got more thoughts, I'm sure, along the way. But yeah, it's been super encouraging to have something to do when toys has slowed down after Christmas. Like a place to direct energy. I don't know how you guys would feel about, you know, when you go to, I gave this analogy to the guys at Discord yesterday, where if you go to work and you know it's quiet and your manager knows it's quiet and they go, well, you get to have the shift, but you don't get to work with a friend that day. You're sitting there, you're kind of, you know, twiddling your thumbs and it's boring. It's Like, why am I even here? There are no customers coming in. Oh, look, a customer. I guess that's why I'm here. Someone has to be here, kind of thing. There's all this energy needs to go somewhere, and that's really what the clothing store has been. It's been a place for energy to go, and some productive energy. So I'm, yeah, very happy with this. And for those of you guys, if you're feeling a bit like, if you're feeling like you're a bit stuck, you know, where you've kind of, feels like you've maxed out your current eBay store and you don't really know what else to buy, and you're watching BOLO videos, what sort of videos, you're trying to figure out what's the next thing you can buy. Try and go for something that is long-term. The fact that you've been able to do it so long, or even if you're starting out, the fact that you've had any momentum is because you like it, you understand it, and it makes you money. Three things, right? You like it, you understand it, it makes you money. Sometimes you can understand it and it makes you money, but if you don't like it, you're not going to keep up with it. If you like it and you understand it and it doesn't make you money, you're not going to persist either. And if you like it and you make money, but you don't understand it, you are going to give up on it, and it's going to mess with you when things don't go your way. Like it, understand it, make money from it. Yeah, filter all the things that you see, all your research through that lens, and chances are you'll find a category that could surprise you, which in my case is clothing, and predominantly women's clothing. The first thing we have is a Irish jersey. This is Rugby Union. It is a size 12 years old. This one the person bought intending for it to be a gift. It's meant to be express posted. Normally I would pack tomorrow, but I'm packing today, hence why there's less to pack. But some interesting stuff to show you anyways. The thing I like about this is that Canterbury make really good jerseys, and it's a shame they don't have as much of a reach, because when I look at the stuff that Nike makes versus the stuff that Adidas makes, and then I look at the stuff that Canterbury makes, Canterbury stuff is just built better. We've got, you know, there's like a bumpy kind of logo to it. It feels, you know, you can't really even scratch it. It's quite robust. And usually when you see these kinds of what feels like polymer rubber emblems, there's like cracking to it because it dries out. This is still kind of soft and flexy. So Canterbury stuff, yeah, the fact that they are a rugby brand, I think not as big in Australia, maybe up in Queensland. But yeah, when I buy like Nike jerseys, I usually wish that they have the construction of Canterbury. $35 plus express postage. We also have a Portman's pencil skirt. Pretty straightforward stuff. Portman's for me has been a learning experience and quick adjustment. And by that I mean, when some people buy stuff they learn that it doesn't sell for as much as they would like, they ditch it altogether. They will say because my time is precious, or they'll say that it's no longer worth it anymore. Whatever reason it is to kind of go, it's that no more. Fact is, if you can still pick something up and you can still make a profit, until you have something until you're really at maximum capacity and you shouldn't pick it up anymore, still pick it up. You know, no need to make a principled judgment on the matter. At the end of the day, it's still profit. So these ones we pay between $1 and $2 for. They're always only ever clearance rack pickups. They're never ever at asking price, because Portman's actually does sell in the shop. It is a known brand. It is in every mall. All the graduates and that, you know, that 17-year-old to 25 age group who don't have a lot of money but need to look professional, Portman's is essentially their go-to. Retail Portman's is, well, not worth it, because you could pay $60 for a skirt, or you could wait for it to go on sale every year at the same times every year at the end of the season for like $30 to $20, or go to the op shop and pay $8 for it. It's still a good deal when you look at it that way. We come at it from a reseller's point of view, which means we look at it at $8 and go, yeah, there's not much fat for us to go back up the chain, because not every brand lets you go back up the chain. But for buyers looking to buy, coming down the chain from like retail to sale to clearance to now being in the op shop and it's still in great condition, and all you have to do is put it in the wash a couple of times and that smell, that op shop smell goes away, $8 is a good deal. If they are not, if they're not tacky in design, like if they look sleek, they look sharp, they can still sell. So $1 to 2 pickup. We sold this for $14.95 plus shipping. I don't ever expect to sell anything Portman's like tops and blouses for any tops, blouses, skirts for anything more than 10. My expectation is I'm gonna buy the 1 to 2, sell it at 10. It's just in the store. It brings people in. It leads to multi-item orders. It has in the past, not as much at the moment because the store still isn't big enough for that. And I'm spreading myself everywhere. Like I've got dressers at the moment, and dressers I find, based on everybody that I know who has bought dresses, be they people who can only afford one dress or people who can afford many dresses, usually with dress shopping, it's one dress. So I don't expect multi-item orders with dress shopping. If you're someone who sells dresses and you have seen multi-item dress orders from the low end all the way to the high end, let me know. I'm curious to know if that's actually a reality. The whole point of these videos and I guess sharing knowledge is that we want to know what is possible. I picked up a Zimmerman dress the other day that I listed for $1,000. Not many comps. The thought of punching in that number, $1,000, was like, is this even real? Will anybody pay for it? Even if nobody does, it provides room for offers, which was the conversation I had with Mandy. Thrifty Mandy, those of you guys who sell clothing know her. She's like an OG in the clothing category, based in Western Australia. Go follow her. I'll link her below. Like, give yourself room for an offer, and usually gauge the traffic to see if people are actually getting on that listing and seeing it and considering it and adding it to their watch list. In 2 nights, it was 25 views and 2 watches, so that's not bad. We'll just wait and see if an offer comes through. If not, hey, I didn't pay that much for it. Nowhere near that much for it. So, but the point is knowing what's possible, to be able to sit with the decision rather than quickly chop down from it. The thing that we talk about on Discord a lot is whenever new people come into a category, and we had most recently this conversation I had with Rob, who does media. He was saying that a lot of new people will come, and because they don't know the rate at which something should sell, they will pick up something good because they see it in a BOLO video, but then they start discounting really quickly because they want to get their money back faster, when in fact that item may actually require 3 to 6 months, not even a year to sell, to get that return that the BOLO video talks about. So as creators, I suppose we really should be talking about when we pick up our items. But that's really hard to do because even if we do mention it, people don't listen. We pick what we want to listen to. And so knowing what's possible simply just means you're able to sit on the price for a little bit longer, not panic, move on and do something else, and not just kind of wait for that item to sell. Which then brings us to the next thing. If you are somebody who is wondering whether you need to list more or less, list more. If it gives you something to do to distract you from the fact that you've made a decision that needs time to give you a result. And the second thing is you're going to learn. Reps are so important. I cannot stress that enough. You can watch all this content, but if you don't do any reps, you're not going to get anywhere, because you'll get the feeling that I'm giving to you through my delivery. You'll get the feeling that Mel gives you through a delivery, Matt gives you through his delivery, Disgruntled Octopus, Grumpy Granny, Tori, Rylan, everybody will present something and give you a feeling, but the feeling that's not the feeling you're going to make a decision on is usually what your gut tells you, and your gut will override whatever feeling you get externally. That gut feeling gets better with reps. Applies to everything. I'm not saying anything new. It's not specific to reselling, it's everything. So get your reps up and learn. This is a pair of nudie jeans. I sold a pair of nudie jeans with a hole in the pocket. I didn't realize that they have size tags on them, that they have a model tag on them. And I put up a I put up a post on the YouTube community post saying that this buyer was like, what model is it? And I go, I don't know, I can't tell you. And he goes, it's usually a model tag underneath the size tag. So this is what the size tag looks like, okay? And there's this other tag here that is so tiny, I did not even notice it. And the 4 pairs of nudie jeans I've got, they're all like rolled up like a blunt. And so I had to like keep rolling to kind of figure it, oh, it's the Lean Dean. Anyways, once I took all those listings down and changed them to include that model name, this one sold overnight, literally. For asking price to the US. Should I ask for more? Doesn't matter. I only paid $6 for this pair. But the point being is, if a buyer messages you, before you get all like crusty and going, how dare you, yada yada, see if they're actually right. And if they're right, your buyer knows more about the item than you do. They may not know more about the category than you do, but the items that they buy and they spend their money on, the money that the items that they spend retail money on, that you only would spend resell money on, there's a higher commitment. They know better. Always consider whether it is worth factoring into your listing, and more often than not, you'll get rewarded. And usually, you also won't get. You can sense when they're being snarky, and very rarely are they being snarky. Even in the toy stores, when I get messages that come off a bit cold, it's usually because they just have autism. And those of you who know people with autism, there is no filter, there is no warmth to it. It's just, hey, that's not Thomas. Gordon's not number 2. You know, like it's that kind of straight to the point. Or the listing doesn't say it comes with the listing doesn't say whether it comes with batteries or not. Well, because it doesn't. But you get the point. So just trust that take it as information without the emotion, and chances are you'll learn something. You'll be able to change your listing. It's free information, free research, free teaching. What's not to like? This is too big to open. It is a linen dress by Flatiron, the label. They are based in like...
We've done our labels. We have 16 to pack, not 13. So it's good. More is good. In case you're wondering why the house is so dark, it's because today is going to be 40 degrees and we've got all the shutters down.
In the op shop.
Let's go pick the clothing items, then go down to the garage and pack the toys.
It's also one of those contrast kind of sleeves where if you fold it up, there's a different pattern, which is a polka dot. Super pretty. When I looked at it, I was like, this looks better than, say, Country Road Trenery. I wonder if it'll sell for that kind of money. Most of the Country Road Trenery kind of like long linen dresses tend to go for between $70 to $100 if they are plain with a tie, and then any sort of like detail you can add me $10-20 along the way, and then obviously more if you're willing to wait a little bit longer. So when I looked up, there were not many comps. In fact, this one had never sold before on eBay in the last 3 years, and this was from 2022. So this has been on the market. This has been around for 2 years. No one has sold it yet. So many things to talk about with this item. First one, if you see a good item that's worth picking up, even if it has no comps, remember that Terapeak is what others have sold, not what you have tried. And given how random and vast the internet is, such that adding 2 keywords, lean dean, makes this item sell overnight, it shows you that the slightest decisions can change reach like dramatically. This also didn't sit for that long. We bought it it was listed January 31st. So, well, 2 weeks. The good thing so first of all, Terapeak, sorry. We're doing better than this morning, but we're still getting there. So the Terapeak isn't, those of you who check Terapeak to make sure that it's worth picking up, if you know a good item, and there is a brand that people can look for. So if you find a good item, you can't find the exact item, but you notice that the brand itself, the word, has activity, in which case you see that there are items that are listed, there are items that are sold for that brand. It means that people come to the platform for that brand, put the item up. It should also get some activity. Not guaranteed, so get some activity. We're going in steps. The next thing is, if you don't see as many listings versus as many sold, it is worth checking whether the brand itself is a big brand, in which case this is like small boutique fashion house in Melbourne. They are not anywhere else. They're literally in Melbourne, 2 locations, and they push all their marketing via like Instagram and stuff. And when you go to the Instagram page, you'll see that it's active. There's engagement there, which means that you should not be. I should not expect this item to have, say, Shona Joy or Mr. Zimi type active listings versus sold. I should expect a significantly smaller number. And if I put it out there, I should expect a significantly smaller number of people interested in it, of whom they might still, a high percentage of that small number might still buy or will buy. Really is no different than collectibles when you think about it. Like, there are action figures that are 6 inches tall, and that's the common size. That's the one you see at Kmart. It's the one that's on the pegs. You know, your standard Spider-Man figurine is usually 6 inches. And then you have, 10, 12, 20-inch figurines that have significantly smaller markets because they're a lot more expensive.
but there's activity even in those small markets. And we've always talked about how eBay allows us to reach those small markets. That's no different here. I know in clothing, given that it's a much larger category, when we start out, all the experts in clothing, you know, your Tech and Sports, Daily Refinement, all talk about sell through, because that's sound basic advice. It makes sense. You don't want to be spending money on things that don't move, especially when you can buy, you know, you can bankrupt yourself buying inventory and not buy all the inventory. That's how much clothing there is in circulation. It's one of the hugest categories for the secondary market. That being said though, if you understand what you're buying, and I mentioned it before, makes money, you like it, you enjoy it, and you understand it. If you have understanding, you can make the investment knowing that it will actually sell, which in this case it did. So we paid 10, 15. It was between 10, it was either 10 or 15. I can't remember what the tag was on the dress, but it sold for 70 plus shipping, which is super cool. So whoever's buying this, they are also, where's the label? They are also in Melbourne. A Melbourne small fashion house, buyer in Melbourne, in the suburb that is very near to where one of their stores is. Makes sense, right? I've just got a message from someone asking for the waist measurement of size 12 pants. And before you say, like, why would somebody ask you for measurements for things that already have a size? Size isn't always true. And sometimes with jeans, they stretch. And this is funny, right? I have added the measurement of the leg. I have added the measurement of how wide the ankle opening is. I've measured the rise, but for some reason on that day, didn't measure the waist. But I do it for every other listing, so gotta go and let them know. ADHD. And when I say it that way, I don't mean that it's a bad thing, and I definitely do not mean it as like it's a bother. It's just a great way to explain the randomness that happens and the slip-ups that happen, which I'm super thankful for. That makes more sense than I didn't care, because I do care, and you guys know I care a lot. That makes more sense than I don't pay attention. I'm not paying attention because I'm not focused. I can be very focused, and that's the confusing part. When I get told I'm not focused, I'm like, but I can be very focused, and I can get so much done when I'm focused. So being able to explain the blips, the quote-unquote blackouts, has been great. I know that with neurodivergence, there is this whole there's the movement that wants it to be known, for that label to be accepted, for it to be to be talked about, for awareness to grow. And then there are the people who don't want the label because it leads to too much pushback in society and too many lost opportunities. I get both sides, and I think what it comes down to is your personal circumstances. Can you make something of the label? If the label provides clarity, if it provides direction, and if it provides a way to make sense of the past so that the future can look different, embrace the label, work with the label, and find people in your community, surround yourself with people who actually have that same approach. If you're somebody who wants to embrace the label and you see its use and its benefits for life, and then you go and hang out with people who avoid it like a cancer, then you're not going to get the support, you're not going to get the validation, you're not going to get the conversation. Even if they know nothing, simply by them listening and not constantly invalidating you is huge. So that's been my experience. And even with our Discord as well, we definitely have conversation around to label or not to label, what's the point of it. And I'm really thankful for the environment we've created where we can have the conversation on both sides. There is no right or wrong, because like I said before, it really comes down to your personal circumstances. What does the label actually achieve? For some people, it achieves nothing. At least they haven't realized what it can achieve for them. And then for some people, having the label actually helps them to achieve more, because by simply ignoring it, now there's just this reason for how things can make sense, and they're just not wanting it. Can't get rid of it, can't cure it, can only work with it, can only build upon it, can only use it to benefit those that I love. So yeah, but those blackouts do lead to things like not measuring one thing that I normally measure out of habit. And the response is just chuckle. I just chuckled that it happened. Hello again and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is John. I'm a full-time eBay seller based in Melbourne, Australia. What that means is I buy stuff from Facebook, thrift stores, flea markets. I get given items to sell for free because people don't like randoms turning up to their house. I also get given collections to sell on consignment. All these items are put onto eBay, and the profit that I make is my full-time living. I've been doing that for 6 years now. So if you're somebody who wants to turn your side hustle, flipping items online, regardless of the platform that you're on, and turn it into a part-time to a full-time gig, stick around. You might learn a thing or two along the way. Also consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. YouTube tells me that half of you aren't subscribed, which is okay. You know, subscription lists can get pretty bloated after a while. Hopefully this video is evidence enough for you to stick around and consider becoming an ongoing subscriber. Today we're going to talk about the items that we've sold, and we've done some clothing. We are going to go get some toys, and then after that put together a shelf because my wife's on annual leave and there are house things to do, which is one of the benefits of doing this as a business. Time is flexible. This is a Ford Torino Talladega from 1969. It's got the Union livery, blue and orange. Does really well. Blue and orange, Union and Gulf. So this would have been a mainline car, you know, something you get off the shelf. It came out for $2. This sold for $9 plus shipping to a regular buyer. This buyer tends to buy one car at a time, all the time. So far over the last 3 years, they have spent $733.36 on 43 items in 43 orders. So a good chunk of that is literally, so a good half of that probably shipping. But they just don't want to combine shipping, and that's okay. I always offer, but that's how they want to. That's how they want to do it. That's how they want to do it. More cars that sold for $10. This person bought these two with combined shipping, so it's price plus shipping. They're exactly the same car. It's the '69 Mustang Boss 302, both of them. And as far as buying cars is concerned, if it's something that, if it looks like something that someone would drive, it's probably a good idea to pick it up. Then, which means that it will sell. People buy things that they can imagine themselves embodying. I was going to say using, embodying. And depending, and so that determines whether it will sell or not. As to the price that it will sell for, two different things. Will it sell at what price? The at what price comes down to the desirability of the actual car itself. Some people will pick things that they are desirable, but if people can't imagine them embodying it, it doesn't move. You know, you can ask whatever dollar value you want, but if it's not in a medium that they can see themselves ever being attached to, it's not going to sell. So in this case, Mustang, iconic car. Not every Ford Mustang sells, but if it looks good, something that someone would drive, there's a good chance it will sell. That's kind of my criteria. Not rocket science. And it seems to have worked really well for me in terms of deciding how to pick up, which cars to pick up when I go to that car bin at the op shop and which ones not to. Also, it helps me to see which collections are worth picking up, because sometimes, I've said before, when you're buying collections, you're not buying you're not just buying the category, you're buying the taste of the person who curated it first. If you buy a good curator's taste, you end up with a lot more margin because there's consistency in what they pick up. If you buy randomness, bought for play, the selection is not that great, in which case, even if initially if you're buying 500 cars for say $100, it's 20 cents a car, by the time you figure out what can actually be sold, you're looking at closer to $1 a car because of condition, because of desirability. You get the idea. The curation factor does matter, which is why a lot of people go to op shops and then they get disheartened because they expect better things and the randomness throws them off. But ultimately, they bring all these items converge into one place, and then so a random selection converges in one place. Let's just say the random selection averages out to decent, right? You've got great stuff, crap stuff, it averages out to decent. That stuff still needs to be curated by the person who is assessing it to put it onto the floor. And then obviously they then put their price on it. it's the curation that is frustrating, because depending on who is pricing, who is sorting, and obviously depending on the place, some places have, you know, the fixed person who does clothing, who does toys, who does, you know, glassware. But if they are not great curators of selection, you'll end up with a really frustrating experience sourcing at the op shop. Trying to find that curation factor is key, which is also why when we resell it, when we get to a point where we can turn this into a full-time business, we start buying from other resellers, because they have the curation part down pat. They just they just can't be bothered or don't want to deal with that particular category of inventory. So you're buying the mismatch of, do I want to deal with it or not whether they know how to pick up stuff that's good. Having a network of people who do clearance outlets, who do estate sales, who do storage units, who know what you like, who have an eye for decent and can pick up and send it all to you, that's huge when you start running out of time, because you're managing this full time now. And you stop being so particular about wanting all of the money. You know, at the start you want all of the money because you want all of the reward. I think all of the money isn't really about all of the money. It's all the reward for know-how. And this may trigger some of you, and it's not intended to, because usually if you're triggered by something, it's because you don't want to change. And that's okay. I get triggered by things too, and that's my thing to work on. So if you find yourself constantly wanting all of the money, you have to eventually shift to, I want to have more overall money, even if I have some of the money on more of my items. That's how you grow, because you can, if you're spending time looking for items, if you're spending time fussing over items, but you're buying, but you're not processing, and you're not listing, it's not going to get sold, and all of that money is just in your head. It is better to try and get more of the dollars, more of the real dollars, more of the cash, because it's physical. And if a reseller is able to clear out a storage unit, and in their head the cost of goods for the inventory that they're selling to you is $100, and they want to double their money at 200, you might want to pick it up at 100. Don't haggle it to like as close to 100 as you can. Just take it for 200 if you can sell it for 800 later on. You don't have to spend time. It's a relationship building process. You get called to pick up inventory on a regular basis. It helps you to focus. You're making more overall dollars. It's a shift, and it takes time, and it takes time to realize that as well. Not something that you have to do right now if you're not ready for it, and especially if you have capacity to still source and get all the money. But at some point, it needs to happen. And I've definitely embraced that now. It's not an issue. But I remember there was a time at the beginning, we've all been at the beginning, where we wanted all of the money. This is War-Ravaged, Battle Ravaged, Tobey Maguire, 2002, 6-inch Spider-Man. It's got the rip, the mask and everything. Very detailed figurine, very sought after figurine. This sold for $65 plus shipping. Even on the back, you can see there's like marking there. It's not dirt, it's actually part of the paintwork. It's because of how many joints there are, it's very hard to find this figurine in like stiff condition like that. So this one came from a collection nearby. Even the toes that usually goes first, you can see it's, only the head's a bit wobbly, but that's a lot given that it is, almost 23 years old. Whenever you pick up these Spider-Man figurines, be prepared for a bunch of lowball offers, because many people want them, and a lot of people are asking big dollars for them. And there's still this kind of sentiment that we don't want to pay that price, but people still do. And so this is kind of the opposite of that Terapeak thing with the flat iron linen dress. Terapeak will tell you that people do pay, in which case then feel free to ask for a higher price and wait. And put up with the lowball offers. Don't let the lowball offers make you feel you should accept less, because you know that you will get more. And also have confidence in the condition. You can describe condition all you want, but at the end of the day, the best thing is someone taking a punt, paying for it, receiving it, and going, oh my gosh, I took a punt on it and I actually got a stiffed joint figure as opposed to a floppy Toby. So yeah, $65 plus shipping, always ship in the box, and you'll have some happy customers. How much did I pay for this? This came in a collection that I paid $55 for. That a bunch of Transformers, a bunch of Spider-Man figurines, a bunch of Shapeshifter figures as well. I guess if I had to allocate a cost per figure, $5. Usually with action figures, I've got two choices. I can either wrap it up with a bunch of bubble wrap and let it flop around, or I can just tape it to the box like that. And this is what I tend to do for figures that have a lot of moving parts, like these Marvel Legends figurines, because even with bubble wrap, it's still going to bounce around anyway, so might as well just be like this. That way, the only impact is when the box moves, it goes through the bubble wrap at the bottom, and that's it. I haven't had any complaints yet of people picking up these boxes and going, oh, is it empty? Nothing's moving, there's no sound. Haven't had that yet. Alright, next up we have a Elasmosaurus figure. It's quite the neck's bendy, but it's not going to snap. It's quite an elaborately painted thing. This sold for $10 for shipping. There was a time when I wanted to sell dinosaurs because I thought dinosaurs were cool, and there are lots of kids who like dinosaurs. Turns out there's so many ways for a kid to get a dinosaur that the number of kids who are actually that into dinosaur, like autistic level into dinosaur, relative to the amount of dinosaurs that you can sell to meet that need. You know, we're talking with correct detailing, colored eyes, colored teeth, with, you know, the actual name on the bottom so that they can read it out and be like, hey mommy, look, I have an Elasmosaurus. Did you know, you know, those kind of kids. Every kid goes through that phase, depends on the category. I just found with dinosaurs, there's just way too much stock. And so to be able to sell them for good money, it's not a category that I would ever build my business on. But if you're someone who sells dinosaurs for a living and you do really well, let me know. Or don't, because you clearly know something that a lot of us don't, and you should probably keep it a secret. Or not, if you're generous. Anyways, the point being is I haven't had much luck with dinosaurs, and that's okay. I don't think that if you don't do well in a certain category, it doesn't make you a bad reseller. There are people who try their hand at certain categories and just don't do well in it, and they'll say things like, I've tried my hand and it just didn't do it for me, and that's okay. Could be lack of understanding, lack of enjoyment, could just be the fact that it was just not easy to get, or it wasn't possible to get good inventory at their location, and location does matter with these things. So dinosaurs, not really my thing, probably never will be, and I always find them a bit of a pain to pack because they don't collapse the way, you know, human action figure does. You can bend the knees and everything, kind of fit into a box. With these ones, the box has to be this shape. If it goes into a box, this is going to go in the satchel because it'll be fine. But with the Jurassic Park ones that have moving arms and legs, you know, electronics and stuff, you know, the opening jaw, those ones need to go into a box, and usually it's the tail, and sometimes even the angle of the tail bends in such a way that you can't even get a flat box. You need to be a flat and fat box, and the shipping goes a bit higher, or you spend time having to custom cut boxes to fit the beast. So yeah, not my thing, probably never will be. Dinosaurs. The takeaway from that wasn't for you to go, what don't I like to do? It's to illustrate the point. Keep looking for new categories to sell in, because especially if you're a used item seller, your category might dry out. Your category might lose steam. The Thomas category has lost steam because they've gone all animated and slapstick with it. The episodes look more like Tom and Jerry now, with like Bing Bang Boom, and it's no longer sunrise, sunset, where have you been? You're causing delay. You're not a useful engine. You know, things that teach kids values and patience and time, like that stuff's all gone. That can happen to any category. So if you're selling something that is driven by, you know, demand that can change because the source keeping the demand alive keeps changing it, you need to have something that you can pivot to. Something that Rob's actually really good in our Discord for asking, you know, he's like, do you have a plan B? And that's not because the category you're getting into, and he usually will ask it also at the beginning. Like when someone says, I'm starting to sell this, he'll go, and then what's your plan B? Because you can start a category and also realize it's not good. You know, that's the reality of selling used items. You can get into a category and that's your new thing and it's exciting, and it could just flop completely because you could just, you could be late. You know, that is a thing. You could be late if it's one of those trending categories, like sneakers, for example. You could be, you could find out that you don't understand it at all, and you can't get stock, or it's hard to get stock, or it's expensive to get stock when you can get stock, or you could just suck at it. That's also very possible. There are categories that I have sucked at in the past that trading cards, very popular category. Lots of people who start reselling tend to gravitate to trading cards because it's easy to understand. There's words on everything, which means it's easy to comp, easy to identify. I got bored of it so quickly. I unboxed a whole bunch of crates and then I just went, nah, don't enjoy it. Mind-numbing stuff. I've seen the picture of Rajon Rondo 200 times now. It's just no. So yeah, always have a plan B. Always looking for new categories. And the good thing is, regardless what categories you get into, you're going to build up on your skill set along the way anyways, and that will set you up for, you know, category C, D, and E, and so forth. And if this is the first time you're watching a video of mine, categories that I've done in the past, I've done Pokemon cards, I've done sports cards, I've also done sneakers, I've done computers, mobile tech, and, you know, tablets and all that kind of stuff. I've also done the recasings of things, like, you know, back when Blackberries and Samsungs, you could buy the cases, like the various shells, and then change the colors of them and stuff from China, and then sell them for a premium because people couldn't figure out how to do it safely, or they thought that if they did it themselves, they'd wreck their phones. So buy the phone, buy a case, swap it out, sell a pink Blackberry to someone for a margin. That was also something that I did. Shipping NBA jerseys from the States into Australia before China faked everything. I used to sell those jerseys locally here. And then there's the toys. So Thomas Trains, action figures, toy cars, baby clothing, and now used grown human clothing. And dolls. See? Constantly having a new category to get into because categories change and you continue to learn, continue to grow, and eventually you might find yourself in, you know, reseller nirvana of replenishables, where you no longer have to source because the supply just comes to you, and that will be an amazing day one day when that does happen. But until then, we keep hunting and we keep looking for new categories to have a go at. This is a Halo figurine. It's one of those Noble 6 guys. Halo figurines, right? They look like that. They're kind of like a matte finish. They are hand painted as well. They're made by McFarlane. They feel solid, but they're actually quite fragile. If you drop this on the floor, a limb might pop out. So definitely always be shipping these things in the box. They have armor attachments that do come off like that. For you to swap out, and they have got pins on them too. So checking that the pins still stick in is key, because otherwise you might sell it and then someone goes, I can't put on new pieces of armor anymore, and they might get annoyed at you and ask for a return. The other thing is, whenever there's a hole, there's, you know, like shoulder holes there on the arms. There's also on the leg and just at the belt buckle. They're meant to attach things. The ones on the legs are meant for like grenades to attach to. On the arms, there's usually these like ranking plates. So like the medic has one, and like I think I'm not a Halo fan and I'm not big on Halo. All I know is how to comp things, and the reason I know how to comp this one is because it came in a set of 6 figures from the Noble 6 group. Therefore, more sought after. Even without weapons, it's sold without weapons and clearly some attachments, still sold for $34 plus shipping. The complete figurine would go for about $60 to $80 depending on condition, and this one is still, as you can see, stiff. What I like to do is I pose my figurines in positions that tell the buyer that the joints are stiff. I don't ever say stiff joints because stiff is subjective. Someone might go, you said stiff joints but it's not stiff. That's the worst thing to happen, especially when the figure's not in your hands anymore. And all I say is figure can pose as pictured, which means if you want a figure that can do the things that I'm showing you it can do, and with 24 photos you can, because if you think about it, front, top, 45-degree top, if you take 8 sides and a top angle to show any scuffs on the head, that's 16 photos plus the bottom, that's 17. You got another 8 photos, 7 photos to do some stupid poses. Let him stand on one leg. Let him, if they've got fingers. There's a Venom figurine that looks really cool with this middle finger up. Sorry. They just by being able to pose it that way tells the buyer that all the joints are still strong, even at the tiniest joints. Therefore, the bigger joints should still be good. And if it's a figure that's quite top heavy, like Venom, Juggernaut, who else is quite big, like Colossus, Hulk, if you can make them stand on one leg, it's huge, because what you're really saying is this figure that is made of plastic, the same plastic from top to bottom, it's this tiny plastic joint at the very bottom and foot can hold all that weight. Speaks volumes. And usually when I do that, the figures sell for the asking price that is higher. So for example, if that figure in good condition will sell for 50, I'll ask for like 100, take a best offer of 80, because that buyer that wants all of that will pay that price. So I'm happy to wait. I won't take a lowball offer because I know what I'm doing. That's the kind of confidence we're talking about when you know your category. So if you're getting into a new category and you're watching this video or any other video on YouTube or Instagram, wherever it is that you get your content from, and you learn as you go, don't rush and like keep taking a discount. Obviously, if you need to get cash in to replenish, by all means. And even if later on you feel like, oh, I should have waited because that could have sold for more, you'll see it again. If this becomes a regular thing, you will see it again. This isn't the first time I've sold this figurine. So I wouldn't stress about trying to get the perfect price. There is no perfect price. There's only profit, and profit that allows you to make more profit. If there's profit that doesn't let you make more profit, that's not good enough profit. That's it. Speaking of Halo, we still got these Mega Bloks figurines that we need to sort into our variation listing. We have a Mega Bloks variation listing that's doing quite well. Every so often we'll sell one Mega Bloks minifigure with a weapon for like $10. As long as you can describe it correctly, know how to use Google Lens, it's a pretty easy thing to set up. On to some Thomas trains. This is Elfie the Digger. It's sold for $10 plus shipping to somebody who only wanted the one train. These are Thomas Trackmaster trains. They're a little bit bigger than the wooden trains. They work on the motorized track. This buyer in Romania paid $25 a train plus shipping and taxes. The glow-in-the-dark ones are pretty straightforward. The wheels are glow-in-the-dark, the carriages are glow-in-the-dark. Leave it on a daytime track, and then at night when the kids played it, which is weird with glow-in-the-dark, because it's which kid turns off the lights and plays toys? We have glow-in-the-dark toys in our house. I've never ever seen our kids turn off the lights and just sit there watching it work. They usually want to play with the lights on, and most kids are scared of the dark. So I've never understood glow-in-the-dark toys for that age group. This is Crash and Repair Salty. The Crash and Repair range is pretty straightforward. It's like this, and then if you put something on the track, oh no, a tree has fallen, whatever, a teddy bear is terrorizing the track, boom, and then his head goes like no, and then the body opens up and there's like a crash kind of tint to it. So it's a pretty cool set, open close kind of deal. Yeah, it never fails to amaze me how eBay allows me to discover things I have in common with people in small countries that I've never been to before. Romania, for example. I only know one Romanian, and even then when I met her, I didn't know she was Romanian until she told me, and I didn't know what to ask her, because I was like, is it a European country? Great. Then it's like, what's Romania like? There was one of those things, as opposed to if someone says they're from Canada, you've really got things you go, oh, I want to see a moose one day, or do you guys get snow all the time? Do you play hockey? There's so many associations. Whereas in Romania, I had nothing. Just what is Romania like? So the fact that with eBay, whenever I sell something to a small country, I'm like, wow, we have this in common. I find that really cool and enjoyable. And it just goes to show, when you are selling items on eBay, have international shipping, because you learn so much about the demand of the item that you're selling. If you just sell locally, it can be easier to say this stuff doesn't move. In fact, when I was in the op shop recently, a guy was looking through I was at the clearance rack. This guy was walking towards the clearance rack, and the lady goes, nah, there's nothing good there. He's like, what do you mean? Oh, that's the stuff they're trying to clear out. Means that no one really wants it. It's been sitting here for a while. And by that we mean sitting there for a while, maybe a month or two at best. And nobody wants it, meaning people in this local area who happen to come into that store don't want it. That's so much to unpack just with that. But some people accept that as reality. That's the point. Like there are sellers who go to the thrift store, find out that they're resellers, think of giving it a go, and then they just are so quick to accept the reality that nobody wants it. That's why it's there. But that's not true, because once you change the reach, once you change the duration, we talked about 1 to 2 months, clear, right? People who walk in, if you change the 1 to 2 months to 3 months, and you allow that time over the internet with the right keywords, with the genes, for example, having the right model name and all that, with proper research, is it still going to remain as a nobody wants it situation, or is it now going to be a wanted at a much higher price situation? You get the idea. So yeah, if you're on eBay, definitely activate international shipping. If you don't know how to, YouTube it. There's plenty of videos detailing how to do it. I don't do good process videos because I find them really mind-numbing. I'll tell you how to do things. I'll tell you why I should do things. I'll give you the math on it. But if you want me to make a video where I record my step-by-step on a computer with screenshots, that stuff, you're not going to get a quality video. Join our Discord community, the Meaningful Hustle. If you want to learn how to do it, hop into one of the hangouts. And usually we have a 24-hour hangout where we work together during the day. And if you go, hey, I need someone to show me how to do it, just ask. Don't feel scared to ask. Just say, hey guys, I've never done international shipping before. Can somebody show me on a screen share how to do it? One of us will do it there and then you can ask all your questions, and that makes a whole heap of difference, as opposed to or just watch one of the videos from like Grumpy Granny or whatever that, you know, does the step-by-step, because that's not something that I'm good at and not something that I enjoy doing. And if I record that video, it will never get edited, and you guys won't benefit from it anyways. Back to the point, do international shipping. You'll learn a lot more about your product, you'll learn a lot more about your buyer, you'll learn a lot more about not just the world, really. Isn't that the whole point of being on the internet? To be able to sell to the world? Or wider than your local area, further than where you can drive to. Okay, this is the Porter from Thomas the Tank. It's die-cast, it's made by Ertl. You'll see the engraving on the bottom. Usually what you look out for is for chip paint, so slightly chip paint is fine. People expect it to look that way when it's vintage, but obviously if you've got layers of it that have already chipped off, it won't sell for this much. It's sold for $15 plus shipping. This is a rare Sodor power supply vehicle essentially. There's a torch there, and then there is like a siren type light over there. This one is, the scenario is, if there's a blackout and then they need to bring a train from, you know, the power plant all the way to where the blackout is, Thomas can go and pull this along and bring the tools for the job. That's essentially the idea of this piece. It's very cute. Not many people know about it, unfortunately. So if you do pick this up and you want it to sell for $30, it will sell eventually to somebody who knows about it. In which case, this is the person who does know about this is in the United States, and this one is just Rex. He sold for $14 plus shipping to a local regular buyer. And lastly, before I wrap up this video, this is a F-150. If it looks like something that someone would drive, worth picking up. This was a $2 buy from a collection of Hot Wheels cars that I did pay retail for. So $2 is retail. Obviously it would sell for a lot more, because this particular seller that I got it from was a daughter of a guy who had passed away, and he would collect multiples of the same model. So I would have, researching was really easy. I got to have had a really good deep dive into like into pickup trucks, American muscle, and obscure roadsters like your Caterhams, your Lotus, not like the Ferraris, not like the known stuff, not the Porsches, just the, I guess, English American, probably the way we look at it. The other thing I want to point out was, now that I'm looking at this particular one has, you can see there's a scuff on the bottom of the wheel over there. I sold an item to a person who, it was a multi-quantity, and they said that there's a scuff on the item in the packet, and I went, you know, they want to return it, and I go, it's multi-quantity. Even if I can find you one that doesn't have a scuff on this side, I can't tell the scuff from the other side. Please buy something that is loose, that way you can actually observe all the sides and ask for more photos. Even if you ask me for more photos on this item, I'm not going to open it for you, because removing it from the packet reduces its value. If you've never heard me tell you guys about this kind of story before, it's because it rarely happens. I've only had 2 buyers in the past 6 years complain about a brand new item. One person said it didn't work, can't verify. The other one said scuff, and that was last week. Let's just say, you're going to get weirdos on the internet, people who are not reasonable, people who expect perfection from you. and that's okay. Just help them to understand it, reason with them, don't get annoyed by it, and usually when they realize that their requests are reasonable, they will just move on. So yeah, didn't realize I picked up another new item with a defect on it. Anywho, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you learned something or more than one thing from this. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hopefully what you saw, what you heard was worthy enough of a subscribe. And yeah, consider joining our Discord community. We work together every single day, and become a channel member if you feel so compelled. Until next time, take care, happy reselling, be kind to one another. I'll see you in the next one.